I lost my baby nephew to murder back in 2019, and the perpetrator denied his guilt all along for almost 3 years. And just as we were preparing to go to trial and give evidence that morning, he asked for a rearrangement and then pled guilty, which meant that he was given a life sentence of 25 years, but with a minimum tariff to be set. So we went back to court in April and the minimum tariff was 13 years. So there's a few different things that I would like to fight for. Number one would be a blanket tariff on all baby murders. I tend to believe that the murder of a baby or a child is completely different to the murder of an adult. An adult has got to make friends, go to school, feel love, build relationships. Babies can't defend themselves. They can't cry out for help. They can't tell someone that they're being hurt. They're far more vulnerable and far more of their life is taken. So I think that the punishment needs to fit the crime. And I don't think it's acceptable that any person who murders an innocent baby faces the possibility of a 13-year minimum term. I find that disgusting. So I would really like a blanket tariff to come in around a minimum of 20-25 years, where they can't go below that. I also feel that there has to be a massive deterrent for people who commit these type of crimes. 13 years is no deterrent. A person can get out and go on to live their life again. So I think it's important to just put people off hurting children. I think what I learned throughout the process of the court, I for one believe that during something like this you're allowed to read out your victim impact statement. We watch it in TV shows, mostly sort of American crime dramas, and just assume that that's what happens. So when I went through the process and found out that it's not what happens, I was completely horrified, because we were told we had to write them to the judge. And I thought, why? What did the judge do? He didn't do anything to us. I felt that we deserved the right to stand in front of the person who destroyed our lives and tell him exactly what he had done. Victims don't have any voice in the courtroom, and they don't have any choice in any part of the process. So I think there should be no more, excuse me, I think there should be no more 11th hour confessions. I think that when the police and the detectives and the team of people put that much effort and energy into gathering all the evidence and everything to build this case for the trial, but also the family to be dragged through the trauma of 3 years of denial, telling us that he fell off a sofa and hit his head. We were prepared that morning, and his guilty plea just pulled the carpet from under our feet. Everything that we had built up for and worked towards, and the same with the police team, was just set aside. And then he got 3 years off his sentence for that guilty plea. The way I thought it worked was that if you plead guilty early, then you get leniency because you spare the family the pain of dragging them through that. You spare the courts and the police the time and energy and resources. You should not be allowed to confess as a trial is about to begin and still receive leniency for that, even though you put the family through all that pain and the whole police and court system through all of that wasted time and energy. The last thing that I think is really important is that victims should be allowed to read out their statements to the perpetrator. I currently have a petition going to try to make that happen, because We know that we are not the only victims of serious crime in this country, and I'm sure that there are plenty of other families out there who have been through this process and are angry and upset that they weren't seen, heard, valued, or respected throughout the whole process. And I feel like being able to vent to the person who done you wrong is part of the healing, part of the closure. I understand that the courtroom is a place of justice and that you can't have emotional outbursts and things like that within the courtroom. So yes, the statements could be vetted for what is said. And there could be a warning that if you do things like that, you'll be in contempt of court, you'll be brought out or something. That's fair enough. There has to be rules. But I also feel that if that's too difficult to achieve, that there has to be other ways. I know that police can organise family reconciliation with perpetrators within the prison. And I think that if they can do that, then surely they could bring the family and the perpetrator together in a room at the prison where the family can read their statements to them. Why do we not get a say? Why do we not get a voice? And why is the perpetrator always protected? While it doesn't matter about the well-being of the victims. So those are the three things that I would really like to change for the sake of our family, for the sake of all the families who came before, and for the sake of all these families who are coming after. We deserve better.